What's going on, everybody? I hope everybody's having a fantastic day, and it is pretty windy right now, so hopefully the wind doesn't overtake my talking. It is the absolute final Saturday, I should say, of the year. That's probably going to be nice. So we are going to be taking advantage of this and finishing the Talon today. Because the Talon needs some love. Feels really weird compared to the Evo. But we're gonna try to get this guy done today. Hopefully we can. And we can move on to the better things in life, like rice box. Okay, so first we're gonna have to make use of nothing in the engine bay, get everything out of there so that way we have room for other things. We've deleted the evap system and AC. I'm using that as a support for the hood. The next step, I'm gonna have to pull this back off because I have the head just sitting on here. The next step, we have to take the wheel off, get the rest of the timing cover off, get the engine mount off, get the engine supported on the jack. There's a couple more things I need to remove from the engine, and then it'll be ready to get put back together. Okay, so here is the idea. Now that's support, and then I've got jack stand over here, and you gotta have a jack to support the pan. I got the pan sitting on a block. The idea here is that you have to remove this mount because the belt actually goes around it, and with that on there, you wouldn't be able to get the belt off or get a belt on. So this is the proper way to do a timing belt in a 4G63. I mean, even the Evos, they're the same way. So that's the proper way to do it. And what was stopping me before, down here, is the AC compressor tensioner, or the idler, actually. And it actually sits like this and blocks the cover from coming off. So we're going to be removing this. This bracket has to stay because this bracket on the bottom right here, you can see there is a mount that goes to the axle, and this bracket is used as a spacer for that mount down here on the bottom. And it'd probably be a better idea, honestly, to just cut this bracket, but that's just how it is. We just have to deal with it. And I'll be removing this AC line just because, you know, race car. Got a new water pump, so we're going to be pulling that off and replacing it as well. But I'm going to get this cover off here and get moved on to the next step. Okay, well, it seems like the wind is starting to die down a little bit, but so I've got the power steering bracket removed so I can get to everything a lot easier. The water pump came off really easily. There are 5 bolts on it. And I decided that they're originally here on the inside on the 4G63, there is a balance shaft belt. So there are 2 balance shafts on either side of the engine, on one side and the other. They counterbalance each other to balance out the engine so there are no vibrations. But mine was actually in absolute terrible condition. Let me go ahead and show it to you. You guys can see if it'll focus on it. Freaking autofocus is off again. So if you look, you can see the thing is really cracked. Now, it's recommended to use it, but I've actually ran without this for many different builds. It's proper to balance shaft delete, so you'd have to remove the oil pump, do a balance shaft delete on it, and then on the other one, there's a balance shaft connected to it that you can just remove. But then this is bad. I don't have another one, and I don't really want to put one on there because balancing these just really sucks. So I just cut it off, just throw it away, and you can just go without it. Now the reason I would cut it off is if that belt failed, it wouldn't be detrimental to the engine, but what normally happens when that belt breaks, it breaks off, it wraps around the main belt, and then it jumps time, bends valves, you know, it just does all the shenanigans you don't want it to do. Or you're very, very lucky and it just shreds itself and turns into confetti, and then you're still golden. But I've ran without one many times. You guys can do the same thing if you guys are running a 4G63, but I recommend doing a balance shaft delete. But I'm going to assemble this one. The only thing that's going to do is one balance shaft will be working, so there'll be just slightly more vibrations, around 3,000 RPMs, maybe about 4,000. But just user preference. I suggest doing a balance shaft delete if you're going to do this, but it's whatever. And I'll get into this a little bit later, but on the timing marks, this right here is the actual oil pump gear. So this guy right here is the one that you will be messing with, and you have to time this with everything else. That's one reason why the 4G63s suck, because there's like 30 timing marks. This is the crank, obviously. If you look here on the crank, there's a little divot on the actual back plate here, and then there's a aluminum metal that you can see that's lined up with. Same with this one, except on the oil pump gear there's a little arrow. You basically line the arrow up with an arrow, and then it's good. But I'll get to that in a little bit later, whenever we get the head torqued down and we start the timing process. In the process, look at this. You never see this ever. Watch this, watch this. Holy crap, it works by itself. Can you believe it? Well, blam, let's do this.
I just miss you so much, Icebox. Oh, I just miss you so much. It's gonna be a while, but soon.
Now, lining up the cam marks, it's very simple. The two brightest color ones are the ones that you want to line up together. Now, the intake cam, this one's very easy to align. Now, the exhaust cam, on the other hand, it naturally wants to push back. So what you're going to have to do is, there's actually a specific tool. Dang autofocus. So there's actually a specific tool that locks the cam gears, but in my case I don't have it because I don't really care. So what I'm going to do, since the cam gears have holes in them, I'm going to put the timing belt on and zip tie the timing belt while the cam gears are in line. So no slack in the top of the timing belt. But before we get to that point, we're going to run the timing belt around the gears and get it all set, so that way we can zip tie it and then it won't move off the gears. This here has to be set properly in order for the belt to be tight. Now you can see that the hole is not centered, and that's because when you have it bolted down, you get slack here, so the belt can slide over the top of it. And then you're supposed to turn the bearing tightly against the belt, tighten this bolt, and let go of the tensioner, and the belt will be extremely tight. I'll go over that in a second when I get everything all situated. Hopefully you guys will be able to see what I'm talking about. Okay, so you can see I got them zip tied and the marks line up exactly. This is exactly what you want. Technically, another way to look at it is if the marks line up with the top of the head, you'll know for sure. And now, one of the benefits to having this on a block and no mount on this side here is you can lower it to work on whatever you're going to work on next. Now, while we're down here, ideally you want everything on this side to be extremely tight. All the slack needs to be on the tensioner side. So the crank is still marked, but the oil pump is not. This is simple enough. All you have to do is keep the belt pulled tight and make it jump teeth till it lines up, and then it will be fine. So if you look at that, you can see that it's not turned correct. So if I were to take this and rotate it just like this, you can see it's pressing on the belt, so it pulls all the tension out. But I'm going to show you. So I'm pushing on it, and you can see how pressing on it tightened it all the way. So it pulled it tight, pulled the slack out of the crank, so it's all the way tight. And currently I'm not able to do anything right now because I'm holding the camera. So I'm going to go ahead and get that tightened, and then I will show you the next step. Okay, so you can see that the belt is tight now. And now essentially the belt's tight before you even get the tensioner on. So when you get the tensioner on, the tensioner presses this, which is already tight, makes it tighter. So there's no possible way for it to jump time or anything like that. That's why this belt is such an issue when it breaks. It wraps around everything. So now the last step for the timing is we will put on the tensioner, and then before we pull the pin, we will turn the engine over a few times by hand to make sure everything's good and nothing hits, and then you will pull the pin. Okay guys, so I pretty much just went through and assembled this. There are some missing things, so I won't be able to start it today, such as my feed line to the turbo. The actual feed is here, but as you can see, it's banjo, so that's kind of useless right now because I do not have crush washers or a bolt. So I'm probably going to order a fitting, probably convert that to an AN fitting, and then go from there, I guess. It sucks. I really wanted to get it started today, but I guess I'll come back to this video as soon as the parts come for it, and then we can get it finished. Okay guys, right quick, it's been a couple weeks, actually I think it's been a week. I got my banjo fitting for my turbo, and well, we're about ready to start. I'm gonna check everything first. I'm gonna get the thing running before I put the alternator and stuff on, but I got the Jeep keeping charge on the battery here, so very first start with the Talon. Oh! Bro! Whoa! Woo! Baby, she started right up! Oh, you know I'm good. I am. Oh, I'm good. Oh, I'm good. Oh. Now that's what's up right there, baby. Uh-huh. Well, guys, I would do a little bit more on it, but it's kind of cold outside. It's like pretty cold outside, so yeah, I kind of rushed here to get that done, and well, I'm actually very, very surprised that it started like it did. So you guys know that I will be back over here to get the thing going and then get it home with the Evo, and then anything modification wise will be 100% focused on Ricebox from here on, other than a couple little things that I got for the Evo. But all the major things will be focused on Ricebox. But yeah, guys, I wanted to get this done because I wanted to get this video finished, because it's been kind of going for, you know, 3 weeks now or 4 weeks. I've been recording bits and pieces. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. You know, I got the DSM content out like some of you guys were asking, and yeah, it's running now, and it has like very sound. So no knocks so far, and yeah, well, I guess we'll see you down the road. But yeah, that's it, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Later.